What if everything you thought you knew about Lucifer was merely a shadow of the truth? What if the most powerful being in religious history has been known by names so ancient and potent that merely speaking them aloud was once considered an invitation to darkness? Throughout history, across civilizations and sacred texts, a figure of immense power has appeared under different guises, different names, each revealing a fragment of his true nature. From the glorious light-bearer of ancient Rome to the whispered name that monks dared not transcribe, these 7 identities have shaped our understanding of evil itself. But which name, which identity reveals his true essence? The answer may challenge everything you believe about the nature of darkness and light. The light-bearer. Before he became the embodiment of all evil, Lucifer bore a name of breathtaking beauty. The Latin Lucifer literally means light bringer or morning star, a reference to Venus, the brightest celestial body in our dawn sky. This wasn't a name of darkness but of magnificent brilliance. In ancient Roman astronomy, Lucifer represented the planet Venus when it appeared as the morning star. The Romans saw nothing sinister in this name. It was celestial, majestic, a harbinger of daylight. The transformation of this radiant title into the name of evil incarnate represents perhaps the most dramatic character assassination in religious history. In the book of Isaiah 14:12, the Hebrew phrase Helel ben Shachar, son of the dawn, was translated to Lucifer in the Latin Vulgate Bible. The passage describes a fallen Babylonian king, but early Christian scholars interpreted it as referring to Satan's fall from heaven. This interpretation gained such momentum that by the Middle Ages, Lucifer had become synonymous with the devil himself. What's truly fascinating is how this celestial light-bearer transformed from a symbol of illumination to the Prince of Darkness. The very quality that made Lucifer magnificent, his brilliance, became reframed as dangerous pride. His light wasn't extinguished. It was recast as a deceptive glow, a false illumination leading souls astray. Ancient texts suggest that Lucifer's original role was to illuminate the heavens, to bring divine light to creation. Some esoteric traditions even propose that he was God's favorite, the most beautiful and radiant of all angels, whose light was meant to guide humanity toward knowledge. This interpretation suggests that the fall wasn't a punishment but a mission. Lucifer descended to bring light to the darkness of human ignorance. Could it be that history's greatest villain was once creation's greatest hero? The mystery deepens when we consider that even now, in certain mystical traditions, Lucifer is still invoked not as a demon, but as the bearer of wisdom and enlightenment. Before we continue this journey through the hidden names of Lucifer, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Each week, we unveil the mysteries that mainstream history has obscured. Samael, the Venom of God. In ancient Hebrew texts, particularly within Talmudic and Kabbalistic traditions, we encounter a name of terrible power. Samael, the Venom of God, or Poison of God. This entity serves as both the angel of death and the chief accuser in the heavenly court, roles that paint him not as an adversary of the divine, but as its necessary instrument. Samael appears in Jewish mystical texts as an archangel of severe judgment, the very embodiment of divine wrath. Unlike the Christian Satan who stands in opposition to God, Samael operates with divine authority. He is described as having 12 wings instead of the usual 6 of seraphim, marking his exceptional status among the heavenly host. The Zohar, the foundational work of Kabbalah, describes Samael as the shadow side of God, not evil in the conventional sense, but the manifestation of necessary severity and judgment. He is the celestial prosecutor, the angel who tests humanity's faith and administers divine punishment when necessary. What connects Samael to Lucifer? Several ancient texts suggest they are one and the same being. Both were described as the most beautiful of angels before their fall. Both challenged divine authority. Both became associated with serpent imagery. The Book of Enoch explicitly identifies Samael as the angel who refused to bow before Adam, a story later attributed to Lucifer in Christian tradition. Perhaps most chilling is Samael's role as the angel of death. Unlike modern depictions of death as a skeletal reaper, Samael was envisioned as breathtakingly beautiful, with eyes containing every color in existence. When he appeared to the dying, they would gaze into these hypnotic eyes as their souls departed their bodies. Some Kabbalistic texts suggest that Samael wasn't cast out of heaven, but voluntarily descended to fulfill his divine purpose. This interpretation transforms the narrative from one of punishment to one of cosmic necessity. Samael, Lucifer, as the willing executor of divine judgment, the necessary darkness that gives meaning to light. Iblis, the despaired one. In Islamic tradition, the being we know as Lucifer appears under the name Iblis, a figure whose story contains surprising depth and complexity. The Quran describes Iblis not as a fallen angel but as a jinn, a being made of smokeless fire rather than light or clay. Iblis earned his name, which roughly translates to the one who causes despair, or the one who has nothing good, after his dramatic refusal to bow before Adam. When Allah created the first human and commanded all beings to prostrate themselves before his new creation, Iblis alone refused. His justification was not mere pride, but a twisted form of devotion. "I am better than him," he declared. "You created me from fire and created him from clay." This refusal earned Iblis eternal banishment from paradise. Yet, in a fascinating twist, Allah granted him reprieve until the day of judgment. During this time, Iblis requested and received permission to tempt humanity away from the divine path, creating a cosmic test of faith that continues to this day. What makes the Iblis narrative particularly intriguing are its parallels to ancient Sumerian myths predating Islam by thousands of years. In Sumerian tradition, a deity named Enki often played the role of humanity's secret ally, bringing forbidden knowledge against the wishes of other gods. This pattern, a powerful being sharing forbidden wisdom with humanity, appears repeatedly across cultures, suggesting a universal archetype that transcends specific religious boundaries. Unlike the Christian Satan, who is often portrayed as delighting in human suffering, Iblis is depicted as a tragic figure consumed by misguided love for Allah. His disobedience stems not from hatred of the divine, but from a perverse interpretation of devotion. He refused to worship anything but God, even when God himself commanded it. Some Sufi mystics have even interpreted Iblis as the ultimate monotheist, the only being who refused to bow before anything but Allah himself. This perspective transforms the traditional villain into a complex figure whose fall came from excessive rather than insufficient devotion, a cautionary tale about the dangers of rigid interpretation of divine will. Phosphoros, the hidden Greek connection. Long before Christianity adopted the Latin Lucifer, ancient Greeks spoke of Phosphoros, a name that also translates to light bringer or light bearer. This was their name for the morning star, the planet Venus when it appears before dawn. The parallels between Phosphoros and Lucifer extend far beyond linguistic similarity, revealing a connection that has been largely obscured by time. In Greek mythology, Phosphoros was the son of Eos, dawn, and either Astraeus or Cephalus. As the personification of the morning star, he carried a torch that brought the first light of day to the world. His Roman equivalent was Lucifer, creating a direct line between these traditions. What's particularly fascinating is how Phosphoros connects to other Greek deities associated with knowledge and illumination. Prometheus, whose name means forethought, stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, an act of rebellion against divine authority that brought knowledge to mortals. This parallels Lucifer's role as the bringer of forbidden knowledge in Abrahamic traditions. Even more compelling is the connection to the Eleusinian mysteries, secret religious rites practiced in ancient Greece for nearly 2 millennia. These ceremonies centered around the concept of divine illumination and the acquisition of secret knowledge that would ensure a blessed afterlife. Participants were sworn to secrecy, with death as the punishment for revealing what transpired during these rituals. Some scholars suggest that elements of these mystery cults influenced early conceptions of Lucifer and later Satanism. The idea of secret knowledge, available only to initiates who dared to challenge conventional religious boundaries, forms a common thread between these traditions. Archaeological evidence from ancient Greek temples has revealed inscriptions invoking Phosphoros alongside chthonic underworld deities, suggesting a dual nature that encompassed both celestial light and subterranean mystery. This duality, being both of the heavens and the underworld, perfectly encapsulates the paradoxical nature of Lucifer across traditions. Perhaps most intriguing are the philosophical implications of the Phosphoros connection. Greek philosophy, particularly Platonism, emphasized the pursuit of knowledge as the highest good, even when that pursuit challenged established authority. This philosophical tradition may have influenced how early Christians interpreted the Lucifer figure, transforming him from a celestial light-bearer to a dangerous purveyor of forbidden knowledge. Helel ben Shachar, the forgotten original. Before there was Lucifer, before Latin translations shaped Western understanding of the fallen angel, there was Helel ben Shachar, a Hebrew phrase from the book of Isaiah that contains perhaps the most authentic glimpse of this enigmatic figure's origins. The phrase Helel ben Shachar translates to Shining One, Son of Dawn, or Morning Star, Son of the Morning. It appears in Isaiah 14:12, the very verse that was later translated to introduce Lucifer to the Western world. But the original Hebrew text tells a different story, one with deep connections to ancient Canaanite mythology that the early church deliberately obscured. In ancient Canaan, Helel was associated with the planet Venus and was the son of the god Shachar, dawn. Canaanite mythology tells of Helel's attempt to raise his throne above the stars of El, the chief deity, in a failed coup that ended with his being cast down to the underworld. This myth predates the biblical account by centuries and clearly influenced Isaiah's use of this cosmic rebellion as a metaphor for the fall of a Babylonian king. What's remarkable is how this localized Canaanite myth transformed across centuries into a cornerstone of Christian theology. The original context, a taunt against a fallen human king using familiar mythological imagery, was gradually reinterpreted as a literal account of Satan's rebellion against God. This transformation wasn't accidental. Early church fathers, particularly Origen and Tertullian, deliberately connected this passage to Satan, despite its original context. This reinterpretation served to demonize competing religious traditions by associating their deities with the emerging concept of the devil. The Helel ben Shachar narrative contains elements that challenge conventional understanding of Lucifer. In the original context, Helel's crime wasn't tempting humans or opposing God directly. It was aspiration, the desire to rise above his station. This suggests that the original sin of Lucifer wasn't evil in the conventional sense, but ambition, the desire to ascend beyond assigned limitations. Some scholars suggest that this narrative reflects ancient power struggles between competing religious traditions, with the victorious faith casting the deities of vanquished peoples as demons. The transformation of Helel from a Canaanite deity to the Christian devil may represent one of history's most successful campaigns of religious propaganda. Azazel, the desert demon. Among the most enigmatic names associated with Lucifer is Azazel, a figure first mentioned in the book of Leviticus in connection with an ancient Hebrew ritual of atonement. On Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, 2 goats were selected, one to be sacrificed to God, and the other, the scapegoat, to be sent into the wilderness for Azazel, carrying the sins of the people. But who or what was Azazel? The answer emerges most clearly in the book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish religious work that elaborates on this mysterious entity. According to Enoch, Azazel was a fallen angel who taught humans forbidden knowledge, how to make weapons of war, how to create cosmetics for seduction, and how to work with metals and precious stones. This role as the bringer of forbidden knowledge creates an unmistakable parallel with Lucifer, particularly in his aspect as the serpent who offered Eve the fruit of knowledge in Eden. Both figures represent celestial beings who illuminated humanity with wisdom the divine had withheld. The connection grows stronger when we examine the etymology of the name. Some scholars suggest Azazel derives from Azaz, strong, and El, God, meaning strong God, or God has strengthened. Others connect it to Azaz and Yel, to remove, suggesting the goat that departs. This duality, being both divine and cast out, perfectly encapsulates the Lucifer paradox. What's particularly fascinating about Azazel is how his worship persisted in secret long after mainstream Judaism and Christianity condemned him. Historical records suggest that desert communities continued to leave offerings for Azazel well into the medieval period, believing he could offer protection and knowledge to those brave enough to seek him out. The ritual banishment of the scapegoat for Azazel continues to influence modern religious and cultural practices. The very concept of the scapegoat, a being that carries away sin, creates an uncomfortable parallel between Azazel, Lucifer, and Christ, both of whom take on the sins of others. This parallel was not lost on early Christian mystics, some of whom secretly maintained that Lucifer and Christ represented two aspects of the same divine principle. Some esoteric traditions maintain that the ritual banishment of the scapegoat wasn't meant to cast sin away, but to send a message to Azazel, a communication between humanity and this exiled divine being that continues through secret practices to this day. The seventh name. Throughout history, certain names have been considered too powerful to speak aloud, names believed to contain the essence of the beings they identify. Among these, one name associated with Lucifer stands above all others in its potency and the secrecy surrounding it. This is the name that appears in texts from Judaism, Christianity, and Islam but has been systematically obscured, redacted, or encoded to prevent its casual utterance. Ancient grimoires and magical texts refer to it only as the unutterable name, or the true name of the light-bearer. Kabbalistic tradition suggests that this name contains 72 letters, each representing an aspect of divine power that Lucifer carried with him even after his fall. The Book of Abramelin, a medieval grimoire, claims that knowledge of this name grants power over both celestial and infernal realms. What makes this seventh name particularly significant is that it appears to predate all organized religion. Archaeological evidence from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley suggests that a similar name or formula was known to ancient mystics long before the emergence of Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. This suggests that the entity we now call Lucifer may have been recognized by humanity's earliest civilizations. The true power of this name, according to esoteric tradition, lies in its ability to reveal Lucifer's authentic nature and purpose. Far from being the simplistic embodiment of evil portrayed in popular culture, this name supposedly reveals him as a necessary cosmic force, the embodiment of divine light in its most challenging aspect. Some mystical traditions maintain that this name reveals Lucifer not as God's adversary, but as his most devoted servant, one who accepted eternal vilification to fulfill a cosmic role that no other being would undertake. According to this interpretation, Lucifer's rebellion was a divine necessity, part of a cosmic plan that required a counterforce to divine light. The most startling claim about this seventh name comes from certain Gnostic texts suggesting that it is, in fact, identical to one of the secret names of God himself, implying that Lucifer and the divine are not opposites, but reflections of the same ultimate reality. This perspective transforms the entire narrative of cosmic conflict into something far more complex, not a battle between good and evil, but a necessary tension between different aspects of divinity. Perhaps most provocative is the suggestion that this name reveals Lucifer's ultimate fate, not eternal damnation but eventual redemption and return to divine grace. This interpretation challenges the finality of Lucifer's fall and suggests a cosmic cycle in which even the darkest forces eventually return to light. While we cannot, and perhaps should not, reveal this name here, Its existence reminds us that the being we call Lucifer transcends simple categorization. Across 7 names and countless cultures, this entity has represented humanity's complex relationship with knowledge, ambition, and the divine, a relationship that continues to evolve as we ourselves grow in understanding. The true nature of Lucifer, it seems, is not found in any single name, but in the space between them all, a mystery as ancient as consciousness itself and as modern as our continuing quest to understand the boundaries between light and darkness, knowledge and ignorance, divinity and humanity. If this journey through the secret names of Lucifer has illuminated something within you, don't keep that light hidden. Subscribe now and share your thoughts in the comments below. What name resonated most deeply with you? Which aspect of this cosmic figure speaks to your understanding of light and darkness? Join our community of seekers as we continue to unveil the mysteries that conventional history has obscured. The truth awaits those brave enough to seek it.